You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? It's Ryan. Great to be with you. Another really good conversation today. This time about leadership. We're going to be talking with David Johnson. David comes from pest control, recently bought into a plumbing company and is expanding his multi-trade empire from there. He's spent 20 years in leadership within the pest control industry. He's dealt with M&A, mergers and acquisitions, training, manufacturing, and then during COVID, switched gears entirely to purchase a plumbing company, and now has been building its revenue and its team using the leadership principles he's learned from some of the largest pest control companies on the planet. There's a lot of good nuggets. One of the ideas that he mentions that really stuck out to me is this idea of like, if your business was a nonprofit, would anyone want to work for you? I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. Let's introduce you to David. All right, David, I'm really glad to get you on the show, and I've been looking forward to this for a minute. But for those, but I guess before we get going, for those who maybe don't yet know who you are, let's just start there. Who are you, and what do you do?
Well, I'm Dave Johnson. I spent a lot of time in the pest control industry. I know we talked about that a little bit, and I was with Rent-A-Kill with Terminix, and then with a manufacturer of pest control products, and done a whole lot in that industry. And during the pandemic, I found myself kind of displaced, and a plumbing company came up for sale. And to me, service is service, leadership's leadership. And I had a mentor one time, a guy named Mark Froyo, tell me, "Hey, pest control is easy. Sell it, service it, and collect it." So you dumb it down to those things. Plumbing's the same way. So ended up getting a good deal on a plumbing company, bought it. It's 30 years old, and we're able to come in and do some of that. And it's been a very, very good investment so far.
Oh, that's awesome. So this is a fun fact. Not many people know this about me. My dad had a small regional pest control company back in the 80s and early 90s, pre the internet. And so I remember growing up, the smell of the chemicals, the rocking of the truck, the whole 9 yards. How did you get into pest control as an industry?
Terminix is headquartered in Memphis. I grew up just south of Memphis, Mississippi. So I was working in Memphis. I got a call from the divisional vice president out of the blue one day. I don't remember what the website was back then. You could put your resume up on. This is back in the early 90s or early 2000s. I don't remember. But anyway, I had my resume up, and he called and said, "Hey, I'm looking for managers in this industry." And I was like, "Bug guy? Yeah, I don't think so." But he said, "Well, just come talk to me." And I said, "Okay." So I went down to the throne of Terminix in Memphis and sat in front of a guy named Brian Alexson, who was vice president of commercial, and he laid out the industry and what it could do and what it was all about. And I was like, "Hey, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm interested." So met him and a guy named Wayne Golden, who was the head of commercial for Terminix. And from there, started training in Memphis, and they shipped me to Jacksonville, then Orlando, and then it just kind of went from there. So it's just kind of one of those things where I was self-employed with my father for about 10 years. And then he decided to retire, and I'd learned all I could from the industry. He was in the vending and amusement business. So running routes and all that kind of thing, kind of went right into pest control, and it's kind of the same thing. And he retired, and I said, "You know what? I got a 5-year plan to get into corporate America." So from that point on, at the 4-year mark, I hit Terminix, and I was well ingrained into that corporate structure and worked my way up, and did some good things in there. Had a good time, met a lot of great people, a lot of great friends, and that's one thing I love about that industry is the pest control industry is a small, big industry. It's $6 billion now, but it's everybody. I mean, it's just they have a once a year thing called Pest World. I went last year for the first time in a couple of years, and just seeing all the friends and all the people and you're just walking around, people calling your name, and it's like, God, it's been a long time. So that's why I always loved that industry. And I'm looking to get back into it now, buy out another company and run it alongside this one, and kind of use, customers against customer, and, build both
Oh yeah.
pieces. And so that's what I'm looking at now. And it's, that's how I got into pest control. And,
That's awesome.
I cut my teeth. Yeah, I cut my teeth there, built up my leadership skills. I had some really great leaders at the beginning and saw great leaders throughout, and then left there, went to Rentokil, had a fantastic leader over there, a guy named Tal Witherain, who passed away last year. But he was that guy, a genuine person who thrilled when other people made it good. They were thrilled to death when somebody else had a success. And it was awesome to watch and learn from that level of just excitement for other people. And pity that he passed away at like 40. I think he's 45. Just real quick. Yeah, but good guy. And you learn from everybody. You even learn from the good leaders, from the bad leaders as well. You learn, I don't want to be that guy.
Well, yeah, there's totally such a thing as like a negative learning environment. And I'm really curious to like learn more about like your ideas of leadership. But I guess first, probably maybe more important than leadership, I have to ask this of everyone who has experience with Memphis, is barbecue. Are you a rendezvous guy? Are you a central guy? Like, do you have a favorite barbecue spot in Memphis?
So for me, I am a pulled pork guy. I love a sandwich.
Okay.
My phone's going off. I love sandwiches. I'm not a big rib guy. I love wet ribs. So, that's number one. But in Memphis, the Rendezvous is probably like the place if you want barbecue, ribs, and that kind of thing. If you want a good sandwich, there's a place down in Senatobia. They used to have a couple of them. There's a place down in Senatobia called Coleman's Barbecue. For me, that's what I grew up on. Coleman's has the best pulled pork sandwiches in the world for me. Every time we go back, we run through Coleman's and get a sandwich. For me, that's it. But Interstate has great barbecue. I mean, all those guys up there, you really can't not barbecue. I mean,
there's so much good.
A fat guy like me, it's just great.
So sorry, that's an important thing. You have to get out of the way first. Like,
well, of course. How
does one do Memphis style barbecue? And if you haven't had Memphis style, you totally need to experience it.
Yeah, well, and you have these other people from Texas talking about barbecue. They don't know what they're talking about. The Carolinas, they don't know what they're doing. It's just,
I will say, I'm in Oklahoma, right? So like we're in this weird mix of like we get Kansas City style and Texas style. Like it kind of overlaps here. And I've learned to really love Carolina style and love Alabama style. Like I've learned to appreciate it. When I lived in St. Louis, there's a lot of Memphis influence.
Yeah. So I was in Kansas City.
Smoked meat is never wrong.
You're correct. Meat in itself is never wrong. So, but yeah, I was in Kansas City a couple of years ago, and one of my sales guys took me out to I don't remember the name of the place. But it had really good barbecue. I was impressed. So, can't complain. Barbecue's good.
I agree. So, okay. So back to leadership, the thing that I guess most people are listening right now for or watching. Okay. So obviously leadership is one of those things that I think a lot of people think about, they talk about, but I don't know if a lot of people understand, because sometimes they talk about it like leading and managing and owning and being a boss. I feel like sometimes people use those words interchangeably, and I don't think that's right. I don't think that's accurate. So for you, when you talk about leadership, how do you think about it? How do you define what leadership is?
So a true leader to me is someone who is very self-aware. You know what you're good at, what you're not good at, so that you can put people around you that lead the organization. So that's the organizational leadership kind of guy. You know what you're good at. You're very self-aware. You're good at building teams. You're good at putting the pieces together and motivating. You go back to, situational leadership, the old books we went through in college. And then you go like, for me, Kouzes and Posner has some of the best, talking about the vision and self-awareness and all those different pieces that they talk about. And those are the things that organizational leadership needs. But when you come to the people and being a true leader, it's inspiring others. And for me, you have to understand what drives people. And if you don't understand and really truly care about people, you can drive your organization to the ground. You can have great products, you can have a lot of great things, but if you don't have great people to drive those pieces and who want to do what's best for the company and for the organization, I think it was Ken Blanchard. I'm not sure, but he said, think of your organization as a nonprofit. Would anyone volunteer to work for you? So that always stuck with me as not really a catchphrase, but as kind of a, hey, that's something to think about. And so then if you kind of dialed that back into Maslow's
The
hierarchy of needs. Yeah. So you start looking at, and you got to understand who you're working with, right? So some people, they get that physiology thing. They got food, they got water, they got sex, they got all those things that basic, then they come in and they go and they stop at safety. They get safe. They're happy. They're done. They don't want to go any further. The advancement doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. Love doesn't matter to them. They're safe. They're going to sit on their couch. They're going to go to work 9 to 5. If you got those people, you understand that's what drives them. They want to be safe. They want to be, know that they've got a place to be. If you've got someone who is going to be a striver and going to go the extra mile and wants to be something, then you support that. And you just got to know who you've got working for you. And, in the plumbing industry, you've got those people. You've got the guys who they want to go 9 to 5. They want to work their time. They want to go home. They don't want to do anything else. They don't want to be the guy out at night. You got the other guys who wants more. And it's all about money. It's all about getting more. And he'll work, 60, 70 hours a week. You can kill him working him. Then you got the guy who wants to be the boss. He wants to be you. He wants to be the leader, and so with those guys, you have to take the time to teach them, because the boss is not what you want to be. The leader is what you want to be. The influencer is what you want to be. I mean, I've been in positions where with Rent-A-Kill, I had, I believe, 9 regional sales managers, and we had 130 salespeople underneath me. And we also did some marketing things as well. But whenever you have that many people, if you're not able to influence the leaders underneath you, to influence the followers underneath them, then you're going to have just a big black hole. It's going to suck payroll and really not produce what you want to produce. You have to produce that vision and produce that desire in those people that you may not see but once a year. It's hard to get around 130 people.
Yeah, it totally is. And I think what's interesting about the first question you posed, which has been echoing ever since you said it, if your business was a nonprofit, would people still volunteer to work with you? Because I think a lot of people, what they do is they fall back to, well, I pay them a living wage, or I'll just pay them more than the other guy. It's this idea of that money is the control mechanism by which that influence happens. And what that thought experiment says, take money out. Right? If money was not factored into it, would people still believe in what you're doing? Would they feel inspired by you? Is the way that you're showing up for other people on its own enough to have other people get out of bed in the morning, kiss their family goodbye, go and spend 8 hours doing the mission of the company without a financial profit driver? And It really does change where that force is applied. Right now, it's not just giving people raises for doing what you want and giving them cuts for not doing what you want. Now you're talking about different triggers, different levers to pull to help people carry about the objectives the company has. The company still has a profit motive, but you're not necessarily using lazy muscles to make that happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, I'll pay them more. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll be the, but again, if you're a true leader, part of your leadership is to lead that organization to profitability as well. And if the only way to do that is to cut margin to keep people on, I mean, how is that a leadership either? Because you're tasked with whether, I own my own business, so I'm tasked with providing for my family. If the only way I can keep people on is to take money out of my family's mouth from the profit of our industry and our business, then that's not good leadership either. And, I strive every day to make sure that people know. And, my big thing when I'm interviewing someone, my big thing is, look, when I hire you on, you become part of my family. We're not huge, we're a smaller company. I've got 15 people works here, but when I hire you on, I look at you as, if, young enough as a son, if not your brother or your father, whatever, you're in my family, whatever position you hold within this thing, you're part of my family. And I look at it as my obligation to make sure that not only are you taken care of, but your family's taken care of. If you have an issue in your family, I care. If you have, a problem, I care. And I think hopefully my people see that every day in me. I'm not perfect by any stretch. I'm not perfect. I have issues. There's days whenever I want to kill everybody in the room because it just things just happen. And you're like, why would you make that decision? But again, I think everyone does it for a reason. And, in my thing, I don't yell. If I yell, there's, dude, you've crossed so many boundaries. It's just amazing. But I don't yell. I don't scream. We're all adults. If I've got to yell at you, I don't want to work with you. If I've got to raise my voice at you to make you understand, then you don't need to be here because we don't have the same mental outlook or the same objectives. So, that's just the way I look at it. And if you don't want to be in a family atmosphere, then don't come work for me because I'm going to treat you like family. And if that means tough love, then it's tough love. If that means, bending over backwards to help someone who has an issue and who has a problem and helping them through that problem, that's what I would do. That's what I would do for my kids, what I would do for my brothers, what I would do for my father, my mother, whoever. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you better and help you. But you get to the point where it's tough love. You don't want to do what you're supposed to do. Then okay, you can't live here anymore. That's part of that too. And, you have to make those decisions. And I'm a believer in second chances. I'm even a believer in third chances if you warrant it. And I see the change. I did that with an employee in the past, and their third chance was what made the difference in them. And from to this day, they're a fantastic employee, doing what they need to do. And I think the final wake up call was one that I said, okay, this is it. One screw up after this, one misstep, you're done. I cannot make another exception. People are watching. Other people around me are looking and watching. I cannot do it again. And it was a big enough step for them that they said, you know what, I've got to do different and I've got to change. And they have, it's from what I understand, it's still a driving force in their life. So
I believe that. And it's so interesting because I think like as an owner, so if somebody, especially if they've started a business from scratch or if they came into a business and bought it like you have, there's this sense of, as an owner, you understand that you'll make mistakes, but you'll learn from the mistakes because you feel like your livelihood is on the line, right? So make the wrong decision, cool. Lesson learned, won't make that mistake again. And yet those same people often struggle with letting other people learn by failure also, right? It's like one person comes in, they make a mistake, and they're gone, like axes dropped. And those people don't have the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. And it is a really unique and valuable trait in a leader to let other people learn from mistakes, just like they learn from mistakes. Like experience is a powerful teacher, right? And so now there's a whole argument, like, is one time enough? Is two times enough? Whatever. But learning from failure is a powerful force.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so whether and this has always been my thing. If you're a manager underneath me and you're leading people, I expect you to make decisions. I'm not always going to agree with your decisions. I mean, probably, 50% of the time, I may not agree with exactly what you did, but you may get to the same ultimate position that I was wanting you to get to. You just chose a different route to do that. Now, does that mean I take you aside and say, hey, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done it this way. Depends. Sometimes you sit back and you don't make the mistake and you go like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's let them learn from that mistake. And you see it coming from a mile away and you say, look, this is a learning experience. Sometimes when a smaller business like what I'm running now, you don't really have that luxury to let a big one go. But there are sometimes that you like, okay, I'll let him go do it and let him see what it's going to do. And it goes back to that self-awareness. It goes back to, you have to be, look, you've got a continuum, right? From one end of a spectrum to another spectrum. So self-awareness, you've got some completely insecure, and then you've got the egotistical jerk, right? So on that continuum of that scale, you want to be toward the middle of that continuum, right? You want to be kind of balanced. You want to have enough self-awareness that you're not completely a jerk. and you want to have enough that you're not insecure either, because you've got to make these decisions. So along that, you need to make sure that you're balanced in that area. And I think you see a lot of people who cover insecurity with being a jerk. They cover that insecurity and that lack of confidence by just being an obnoxious,
Yeah, I've seen that too.
person.
It's like the bigger ass they are, the less people look at them. That's kind of what they think.
Yeah, I didn't know if I was allowed to curse, so kind of watch my language. But so you look at the pieces of the people around you, and I've had everyone from guys. I had a guy named Dave Joels who took me under his wing. We worked together for a couple of years when I first with Terminex. He taught me how to dissect a P&L, how to look at my routing and my scheduling and my customer mix and where to go to sell. He taught me so many little pieces because he sat down with me. And he was in New Jersey at the time, and I was in St. Augustine. But he would send me this is before email. He would send me a package in the mail saying, "Hey, here, look at all that. It would all be red marked." So he spent time of his day red marking up my reports, so I would see it. And I don't even know if he realized what he did for me. I've told him before he helped me a lot, but these guys and he and Mark were my two first bosses at Terminex, and both of those guys taught me a lot about people and how to treat people. I was sent to St. Augustine to open up a new branch. When I got there, I had no lights. The lights weren't turned on yet, and no furniture. And I got a box of tickets to give all my guys. I got all new guys just that day. And I get a call the first week, and I finally got lights on, still no furniture. And my boss, Wayne Golden, calls, says, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Yeah, Wayne, it's okay, man. We're doing good. We're getting things done, but I still don't have a vehicle. I'm still driving my wife." He said, "That's not going to work. Your wife's going to kill you." He said, "Hold on a minute. I got a call back within 15 minutes to go pick up a car at a car dealership down the street. They'll have it ready in 2 hours." That was the kind of thing that I saw when I first went to Terminex. And it was just like, they care. If they know I'm here, they care. And that was a huge deal for me, and that's why I bled green for 15 years almost, for those guys, because they did that.
If someone's listening to you right now and maybe they're interested in leadership, they know it's important, but they don't have a giant, massive corporation to help provide those opportunities. They don't have a mentor or a networking group around them that they're connected with to learn from that. Is there like one piece of encouragement or direction you'd give someone to help them develop their leadership capabilities without giant corporate infrastructure or without best practice group?
So there are tons of classes you can do. There's tons of, you can go watch, John Maxwell has great leadership themes on. You can go see some of those things. But, for me, you need to find a mentor. You need to find someone around, and I'm willing to be that for anybody. If anybody ever needs something, I'm willing to listen and talk. I don't ever have a problem with that. God's blessed me, and he's blessed me immensely, and I'm willing to give back at any point. You can find me on LinkedIn. But reading books and reading with intent and purpose, not just go and read, say, I read that book. Reading with the highlighter in your hand, a pen in your hand, a pad of paper, making notes. So, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll read a book and I'll make notes, and then I'll make a presentation off of it, something that I could give to someone else. So, I always liked it because I was always teaching with the two positions I had. So I was always giving talks and things like that. So I would go and read with the purpose and say, okay, how can I take what's here and take it to, to people who work for me? And, I read, I think it's Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. Have you ever read that book? It's about procrastination.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about procrastination. And his thing in the book is, if you know you got to eat a frog, eat it early and eat it quick, right? So if something you don't want to do it quick and do it early and get it done. Instead, if you got to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first, right? Because it doesn't help to look at that frog for long. It's just going to make it worse. So that was the whole premise of that book. And I had that in a couple of my presentations. Never really thought much about it. It meant something to me. I said, oh, maybe. Well, years later, I had brought a sales guy who worked with me for years ago, and I brought him into a sales leadership position with another company. And he was talking to his people. And he used Eat That Frog. And I was just like, dude, that sounds awful to me. He said, Dave, I've never forgot that. I've used that. Everybody I've ever talked to, I use that. Those are the things that just make you, hey, that's fantastic. So I got to somebody, and, but that comes through reading. And, I talk about Kuzin and Posner. I talk about, situational leadership. All those came through books that I read in college or after college. I've got a bookcase full of books beside me, and, I reread and I go back and look at what I highlighted before. And, you just reinvigorate that learning and those things. And, that's the biggest thing I think. Be a reader, be a studier, be a learner constantly. And if you find someone who is just crushing it, look at what they do. You're not going to like everything they do, but you can learn something from everybody. But, two things: find a mentor. You have to search them out. They're not going to be, they're not going to have a sign on them and say, hey, I'm a mentor. They're not going to have a sign. And a lot of those folks that do that have, 30 people that they're trying to do, and they don't have a whole lot of time. So, find someone who will serve into your life, who will give their time and listen to what you have. And you can go to and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about that, or this came up and I don't think I handled it right. What did you think? Those kind of people. And and then read. There's so much out there, and you'll find good stuff. You'll find bad stuff, but find someone that you trust and say, hey, what books would you recommend? And, for me, some of those were anything by John Maxwell is great leadership. Kuzin and Posner was a great book. And there's some out there that escapes me. My memory sucks. So, but if you ask me, I can always have a good list of books within 10 minutes. So
it is really clear that obviously you're passionate about leadership, about building your companies and influencing the lives of people you work with. And I love that you said, hey, I would love to help anyone at any time. You mentioned your LinkedIn. Is that the best way you want people to contact you if they want to connect with you?
Well, as you know, my personal email is kind of hard to figure out. So, but no, they can. I'm David.Johnson@citywideplumbing.com is my company. You can reach me there. You can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm in Atlanta, so you'll see me there. Covenant Service is the name of my company. I got DBA as Citywide Plumbing. But anytime anybody wants to reach out, more than happy to talk. More than happy to get if they just want to talk and I don't care. I'm a friendly guy. So, no, I'm willing to help anybody. I've done a lot of stuff. People say, what do you want for that? I said, I don't want anything. Just, hey, anybody ever mentions my name, when I'm dead and somebody's asked you to do a eulogy, give me some props,
Give me an attaboy.
Yeah, there you go.
David, thank you, because I know you're busy. Congrats on the success of the recent acquisition, and I hope that you buying a pest control company also goes just as successfully. But you said some really good things. I'll make sure that your information is in the show notes for anyone who want to check out your businesses you're getting or reach out to you directly. But dude, keep up the great work. Thanks for all the influence that you're helping create people around you to be better. Good job, man.
No, you know what? I'm just a guy, just self-aware, I guess, maybe. But hey, no, I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Levergy, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at BlueCollar.CEO and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.